It started with a spreadsheet. Not a weapon. Not a grand invasion. Not a flashing red alarm. Just a spreadsheet, color-coded, poorly labeled, uploaded with a title that translated loosely into Galactic Common as Batch 57. Human Youth, Eastern Subsector Pickup, Earth 3. The Empire liked efficiency. Their scouts didn't need to ask for permission. They simply arrived, beamed down to selected suburban zones, and with quiet precision, extracted what they needed. No mess. No fuss. Just a clean harvest of human children marked by genetic compatibility, behavior prediction algorithms, and their placement on the Galactic Low Resistance Specimen Acquisition Index. The humans never knew what hit them, not until it was long over. But today, the spreadsheet had an error. Row 112, column B. A 10-year-old boy named Carter. Blonde, freckled, obsessed with dinosaurs, and known to bite back when poked. Official notes, slightly aggressive. Unstable emotional output. Watch closely. No one noticed that under family details, the entry had been scrubbed. Not blank. Scrubbed. A redacted override code, originating from a human military system marked decommissioned. The abduction went as planned. 3 low-gravity field drones descended in broad daylight, cloaked of course, and lifted Carter and his younger sister Emily right out of their backyard, where they'd been playing with plastic swords and yelling about lava monsters. The neighbors saw nothing. But their mother? Oh, she noticed. She was at the grocery store, comparing organic yogurt brands and whispering dark thoughts about artificial sweeteners, when her phone pinged. It didn't ring. It pinged. Only one app used that tone. A long-dead emergency protocol. She hadn't heard it in years. She almost dropped her oat milk. Her fingers moved before her thoughts did. Swipe, unlock, tap. Alert. Unauthorized child displacement detected. Coordinates, Earth. 3/sector 21G/house 134A. Subjects, Carter M, Emily F. Status, extracted. Response authorization, Karen Protocol Alpha. Karen didn't blink. She didn't scream. She didn't throw the milk. She just exhaled. Slowly. Controlled. The way her old instructors taught her when a knife was at her throat and someone was shouting that her country didn't exist anymore. She slid the phone into her purse. Then she turned to the teenage store clerk who had just asked if she needed help finding anything. Yes, she said, smiling. Where's the manager? The kid blinked. Which department? All of them. The smile didn't reach her eyes. It rarely did. An hour later, Karen was home. The backyard was silent. No toy swords. No giggles. No half-eaten string cheese on the porch. She walked into the kitchen and opened a cabinet no one but her children ever saw. Behind the alphabet magnets and school permission slips, behind the false panel of laminated pine wood, there lay a secure fingerprint pad. She pressed her thumb. The wall shifted. Inside, rows of black cases. A shelf of encrypted comm devices. A perfectly maintained exosuit with light armor plating disguised as an emergency hiking vest. And a gun that had no business being in civilian hands, not on Earth, and certainly not in the hands of a woman whose official title was freelance garden blogger. She reached for the comm tablet, activated an old contact, and waited. The image that answered was reptilian, not the drooling, clawed kind. Sleek, green-scaled, glasses, suspiciously wearing a tie. You're dead, he said calmly. Hi, Zarn, Karen said. I need a ride. Zarn hissed. No, you're not authorized. I shredded your dossier. Children, she said. Mine. Pause. Zarn adjusted his tie. You'll need war clearance. I've already pulled the old codes. Transmission coming your way. I suppose you'll want weapons? Standard package. And a ventral launch tube. I'm bringing oat milk. The screen blinked out. Karen stood there in silence for a moment. Then she poured herself a coffee, added too much creamer, and stared out the window. Somewhere light years away, an empire thought it had collected a few harmless humans. Karen smiled softly. They were about to learn what that meant. Far across the galaxy, aboard a sterile and overfunded research cruiser named the Enlightened Justification, Carter was asking questions no one wanted to answer. He'd already counted the exits. 4. 2 sealed. 2 guarded. He'd poked at the force field wall of his cell with a plastic spoon until it sparked. Now he was standing, barefoot, demanding that the tentacle-faced alien in front of him return his sister's stuffed rabbit. "Her name is Bunny McMurderpants," Carter explained. "And if she's missing a button, when my mom finds us, you'll have worse problems than my fists." The alien tilted its head. "You do not possess the biological strength to intimidate." Carter grinned. "I don't need to. She'll be here soon." The alien looked down at its data pad. The mother has been cataloged as unremarkable. No career. No global recognition. No political threat. Carter giggled. "Oh, buddy," he whispered. "You just took the galaxy's worst idea and didn't even know it yet." Karen arrived in orbit cloaked. The stealth ship Zarn lent her had been designed for intelligence officers and diplomatic assassins. Sleek, quiet, unassuming, much like the woman now sipping a thermos of herbal tea, while rerouting the Empire's child catalog database through a second-hand translator algorithm she'd built from her daughter's school project. Her voice was calm as she dictated her message into the encrypted channel. "Dear whoever's in charge of this galaxy-wide daycare center, I'd like to file a complaint. My children were removed from their habitat without consent. I'm sure it's all a big mistake. Probably a misunderstanding. No hard feelings." She paused, sipped again. "However," she continued, "if they are not returned within the next 7 hours, I will begin a full customer satisfaction campaign. You may experience symptoms such as digital collapse, infrastructure corrosion, and localized leadership decapitation. Please have a nice day." She signed it, Karen B., Earth Sector, Suburban Region Delta, North American Quadrant, proud mother of 2, and 2-time PDA secretary. Then she uploaded it to the Galactic Diplomacy Network. By the time the message pinged into the inbox of Grand Administrator Ural, a flabby coral-colored alien with 6 eyes and an underpaid assistant, 3 of the Empire's surveillance satellites had gone offline. The assistant leaned over. "Sir, we've just received a message from a woman. Human." Ural rolled all 6 eyes. "Do they want peace talks again? Or compensation? We already gave their planet Netflix." The assistant hesitated. "She's threatening a campaign." "What kind of campaign?" She used the phrase, customer satisfaction. Ural went pale as Coral could go. "No," he whispered. "Not one of them." Karen docked at a fuel station run by insectoid smugglers. She paid in expired coupons and one promise of future blackmail immunity. Then she picked up a crate labeled organic ale that just happened to contain experimental plasma grenades. When the insectoid barkeep asked her where she was going, she answered, "To retrieve my kids." He whistled low. "And if they say no?" Karen gave a tired, almost maternal shrug. "Then I'll explain it slower." Inside the enlightened justification, Carter had already taken over the comms room. The guards were out cold. His sister was holding the stun stick like a magic wand. The kids from other cells had joined them. One alien child asked, "Who taught you to fight?" Carter grinned. "Mom said I could start after 2nd grade." Alarms began to blare. Emily peeked out the window. A ship, jet black, had uncloaked in orbit, and it looked mad. She clapped her hands. "She's here." The Empire didn't believe in panic, but the officers aboard the cruiser did. "Is that a single human ship?" one asked. "Why is it headed straight for the command deck? Why is the hull playing elevator music?" A calm, almost cheerful voice followed. "Hello, I'm Karen. You have something that belongs to me." Boom. The ship rocked. Systems crashed. Doors locked from the inside. And in a hallway lined with blinking lights and scrambling aliens, a woman stepped out of the docking port wearing yoga pants, a tactical harness, and sunglasses. She held a mug that read, "World's Okayest Mom." And she was smiling. Back on Earth, a neighbor looked over the fence, puzzled. "Huh," he muttered. "Haven't seen Karen all day." His wife nodded. Maybe she finally took a vacation. And far above their heads, across the stars, the galaxy screamed. Because Karen had arrived. And she brought her wrath in a minivan-sized warship, armed with PDA rage and emotional damage wrapped in mom energy. The Galactic Empire's bureaucracy spanned hundreds of worlds, 13 time dilation zones, and 7 species-specific filing standards, none of which were prepared for a Karen on the warpath. Ural, Supreme Director of Planetary Integration and Relocation, hadn't slept in 2 standard days. Not since the human woman's message was received. The communication had arrived like a whisper in the dark, a single, soft voice carried on encrypted static that bypassed firewall barriers and privacy nodes. But its contents? Catastrophic. Please return my children. I'd hate to escalate this into a public review. And somehow, it had auto-forwarded to every member of the Senate, their spouses, their interns, and their pets' communication implants. What even is a Yelp? Ural shouted, wringing his tentacles around a cup of lukewarm nutrient slush. Why does it have 5 stars? And why does she have more authority clearance than me? His assistant, trembling, tapped the holoscreen. Sir, she's just bypassed our planetary embargo network, using something called Pinterest boards. Pinterest. She sent muffin recipes to our Admiralty. But each recipe was a code for a weapons payload we haven't even finished prototyping. There was a long pause. Okay, Ural sighed. New policy. No more abducting humans. Ever. Again. Too late, came a new voice. They both turned. It was Fleet Marshal Zern, a thick-jawed, bark-skinned warrior who once fought in zero gravity with his limbs detached for agility. He didn't look amused. Her ship just bypassed our defense satellites by posing as a delivery drone, Zern growled. Payload, 12 tubes of lip gloss. One exploded. Took out a dreadnought. Ural blinked slowly. Is that possible? She's making it possible. Karen had names now. To some, she was the Whispering Vengeance. To others, Mother Prime. But to the alien data analysts nervously typing in cold basements, she was just her. In orbit above Zel 4, a sprawling market world known for its bureaucratic processing stations, Karen's stealth ship now hovered like a punctuation mark over a sentence the galaxy no longer understood. Inside the ship, she filed a complaint. It wasn't a threat. Not explicitly. It was 348 pages of polite rage, formatted in bullet points, color-coded for emotional emphasis, and distributed using an ancient Earth tactic known as BCC. Blind carbon copy. No one knew who else received it. That was the point. She ended the document with a single sentence. If no resolution is achieved within 24 galactic hours, I will escalate to level 2. Corporate tone with heavy breathing. Within minutes, half the Empire's negotiation protocols had been suspended. She leaned back, cracked her neck, and hit send on an attached video. In it, she simply stared into the lens, calm, polite, dead-eyed, and said, I'm not angry, just deeply disappointed in your choices. The views hit 10 billion within the hour, mostly from terrified aliens who weren't even sure what she was upset about, but felt guilty anyway. Meanwhile, aboard the enlightened justification, things had unraveled completely. Carter and Emily now held the second-floor detention wing with the help of 3 freed alien kids, a reprogrammed food drone, and 1 terrified research intern named Blip, who had defected in exchange for peanut butter crackers and an explanation of Minecraft. The alien warden, a slimy cretin named Jusk, burst into the chamber with 2 guards and a spitting rage. You children are out of control. What makes you think? Emily tossed a hollow disc toward him. It lit up with Karen's face. Jusk froze. The video began to play. Calm. Smiling. Eyes too steady to be sane. Hi there, Karen said gently. Just a friendly reminder that abducting children without their parents' consent is a bad business practice. Should you wish to refund your mistake, please use the corpse of your superior officer as proof of remorse. The footage ended with a little wink. Jusk backed away slowly. Carter picked up the stun baton and sighed. Yeah, that's what I thought. Karen, move fast. She didn't waste time grandstanding. She didn't fire a single shot unless she had to. But in less than 4 hours, she had rewritten a Border Patrol's training manual to include emotional coping exercises, infiltrated a warship's command hierarchy using fake online reviews, and lured 3 elite bounty hunters into a trap by promising exclusive access to a rare human skincare product. They moisturized and exploded, Karen noted in her mission log, sipping tea. Zarn's voice crackled over comms. You've made 57 political enemies in a day. Congratulations. You're officially more dangerous than our last civil war. Karen smiled. I'm not even warmed up yet. In the Empire's capital, emergency council meetings were held. Theories ran wild. Could she be a government agent? No. Earth's government rejected her complaint 6 times already. Maybe she's military? She filed for military retirement after an HR dispute involving cold coffee. Maybe she's a legendary assassin. She used store points to buy her ship fuel. Zern stood up. Doesn't matter who she is. What matters is this. She's weaponized motherhood. They all stared at him. He slammed a datapad down. It showed an intercepted message from Earth. Dear Galactic Empire, thank you for involving my children in your interstellar youth program. I'm sure they're learning a lot. Unfortunately, you forgot to sign the consent forms. Please note I've taken the liberty of correcting this oversight by launching legal, personal, and thermonuclear consequences. Love. Karen B. P.S. Tell Emily I packed her inhaler in the left pocket of her brother's hoodie. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in galactic history, an empire trembled before a woman who still carried Band-Aids in her purse out of habit. On board her ship, Karen recalibrated orbit. She was nearly above the holding sector where her children had last pinged their coordinates. Still jamming signals. Still cloaked. Still watching. She wasn't rushing. She was listening. Every intercepted radio signal. Every administrative chatter. Every misfiled report. She was mapping incompetence like a predator sniffs blood. Talk to me, she said softly. A synthesized voice answered. One of your children just initiated an intraship rebellion. Karen exhaled. That's my boy. She pressed a button. A new video began uploading to the Empire's diplomatic core. It was titled, Follow-up, Customer Experience, Not Improving. Back on the cruiser, the children had moved from rebellion to redecoration. Using the holoprojectors, Carter and Emily had replaced the ship's hall lighting with shifting rainbows and added elevator music to every emergency alert. Carter spoke over the intercom. To all surviving personnel, we're offering you a choice. Lay down your weapons or face the wrath of Bunny McMurderpants. He held the rabbit high. The guards lowered their weapons. The intern, Blip, wept openly. She warned us, he muttered. She warned us all. On a rocky moon just outside the Empire's core, a warlord named Rex received the complaint. He wasn't a bureaucrat. He didn't fear forms. He feared only the void and the way his ex-wife pronounced his name. So when the complaint arrived, wrapped in flowery fonts, dripping with sarcasm, ending with I hope this email finds you in pain, he did what any self-respecting warlord would do. He declared war on one human woman. Summon the fleets, he bellowed. We will silence this. Karen. Seconds later, every screen in his war room blinked red. A video auto-played. Karen. Calm. Dressed in a lavender sweater. Holding a clipboard. Hi there, Rex. Just following up on our previous chat. I noticed you attempted to engage in hostile action. I'm afraid that violates Galactic Parenting Code 147. A. Don't poke the mama bear. The next second, his fleet went dark. His warships received error messages. All systems locked. Karen's voice, softer now. Say you're sorry. By the time the Empire decided to send a diplomatic delegation, Karen had already uploaded a new document. Resolution terms, final offer. It included her children returned unharmed, an apology letter, a galactic lifetime supply of chocolate chips, and a footnote. Consider this a kindness. Next time, I bring the other parents. Back aboard the enlightened justification, Emily sat on a beanbag throne made of shredded guard uniforms. Carter was teaching alien kids how to play dodgeball with soft grenades. The intercom buzzed. Children, Karen's voice said. I'm outside. Carter grinned. Emily jumped up. We have so much to tell you, she said. Carter added, I saved Bunny McMurderpants. Karen's ship docked, slow and quiet. She walked in. The lights flickered. And across the galaxy, an automated alert system activated. Warning: Earth Mother has breached diplomatic zone. This is not a drill. Karen did not storm the command bridge. She walked there, calm, methodical, like a mom who just found out someone dented her minivan and parked across two lines. Behind her, Carter and Emily followed, one holding a disarmed energy rifle like a pool noodle, the other dragging a beanbag, throne made of duct tape and alien regret. The surviving crew of the enlightened Justification watched from the shadows, too traumatized to resist, too confused to ask why there was now elevator jazz playing over the intercom. Even the ship's AI refused to initiate lockdown procedures anymore. It just whispered, "She's here," on repeat. Karen had her kids. That part was done. Now came the second part. Not revenge. Correction. On Zell Prime, the Galactic Empire's core command hub, panic had evolved into paralysis. Their best ships were in lockdown. 3 planetary governors had resigned. One had applied for relocation to a jungle moon with no known comms infrastructure. Worse, they couldn't trace her. Every attempt to locate Karen returned nothing but cheerful pop-ups, baking tips, exercise routines, and unsolicited coupons for off-brand air fryers. The Senate Emergency Council had convened with all species represented: blob, bug, bone, bark, brain, and bureaucrat. Zern, the bark-skinned marshal, stood up. This is not about the children anymore. He tapped his claw against the projected footage of Karen strolling through the halls of the enlightened Justification, nodding politely at stun guards, sipping something hot from a mug that said #MomLife. She's going after our systems now, one by one. She's not even pretending to hide. But why? Asked Senator C.H. Lick, a sentient crustacean. We apologized. We offered compensation. She doesn't want a refund, Zern said grimly. The screen shifted. The next image showed the ruins of a forward operations base, disabled and burning. She wants blood. Back aboard the ship, Karen arrived at the command bridge. It smelled of burned data cables and citrus-scented floor polish, thanks to a sanitation drone reprogrammed by Emily to prefer lemon over lavender. A general, 6-eyed and nearly 7 feet tall, turned toward her with trembling limbs. You violated every protocol we have. You. Shoo, Karen said, holding up a single finger. The general stopped. You kidnapped children, she said, her voice a scalpel dressed as silk. Mine. But not just mine. Thousands more. Different species. Some with laws against retaliation. Some with cultures of forgiveness. She stepped forward. I'm not from those species. The general reached for a weapon. Carter tossed a screwdriver. It hit the control panel. Sparks flew. The bridge locked. Karen sighed. Carter, sweetie. Aim for the hand next time. Got it, Mom. The general drew in a breath. Karen was already in front of him. One move. A flick of the wrist. He was on the floor, groaning in 3 languages. Emily stepped over him and poked his side with a pencil. I used that on a math test once, she said. It was worse. 10 minutes later, the ship's systems were fully hers. No alarms. No resistance. Just submission. Quiet, complete, and broadcasted across the Empire's long-range frequencies. Karen stood in front of the central console. A dozen eyes, lenses, and antennae watched from 100 worlds. She didn't raise her voice. I'm returning this ship, she said. Cleaned, mostly intact. You'll find the crew emotionally unstable, but alive. A pause. My children are safe. But I noticed some of yours weren't. She gestured behind her. Alien children, quiet, wide-eyed, from multiple worlds, peeked around the corner. They were in holding cells, with trackers and shock collars. Another pause. This is your only warning. The next time I find a child in a cage, I will not return the ship. I will not send a message. I will not ask. She leaned closer to the camera. I will simply end you. The transmission cut. Galactic silence followed. Zern watched the feed replay for the 6th time. His mouth was dry, his chest heavy. He'd seen planets burned, fleets crushed, continents glassed in holy wars, and nothing made him feel this kind of dread. Not because of her strength, but because of her clarity. She wasn't bargaining. She wasn't bluffing. She was establishing policy. Karen had already moved on. One ship was never the target. This wasn't personal anymore. It was about all the others: satellite prisons, research cruisers, indoctrination centers built in educational habitats. Each one part of the system that took children from planets deemed emotionally underdeveloped or strategically compliant. And she had addresses now. Emily had found them, buried in encrypted logs during snack time. Karen had taught her how to decode. Carter had taught her how to multitask. By the time they reached the first prison station, Sector 19, a facility hidden inside a moon crust, the security was already in chaos. Rumors of the human mother had spread. Staff abandoned posts. Alarms were ignored. Karen's ship drifted in, unchallenged. Inside, the guards waited, hunched, shaking, hoping she'd be merciful. She wasn't cruel. She was just effective. Karen didn't fire on them. She walked past them, quiet, professional, surgical. She released every child and left behind printed parent resource guides on post-trauma care, child development milestones, and proper snack distribution by species. Then she detonated the armory and welded the front door shut. As she left, she pinned a note on the security station's main terminal. Free to a good government. Don't screw this up again. Karen. Her legend grew fast. Some thought she was a myth. Others thought she was a weapon Earth had finally released after millennia of restraint. In reality, she was just tired. Tired of explaining empathy to a galaxy that mistook compassion for weakness. Tired of smiling while people with power made decisions that hurt the smallest and softest among them. Tired of being told she was overreacting. But she'd learned something, too. Terror worked better when it was organized. Carter sat in the ship's rec room, working on his third comic book. He titled it Space Karen vs. Galactic Morons. Emily was building a scale model of one of the Empire's bases. With tiny clay guards and actual traps. Karen passed by the doorway. Dinner in 10, she said. Explosion in 6. Emily called back. Karen didn't even blink. Clean up the limbs before you eat. Yes, Mom. Back on Zell Prime, chaos blossomed. Systems buckled. Entire planets shut down facilities just from the possibility Karen might target them. A movement rose. Not of rebellion, but of reformation. Leaders, ashamed and desperate, began shuttering projects, freeing detainees, reviewing laws that had gone unchecked for centuries. Some called it fear. Others called it justice. The galaxy had learned something Earth had always known. There is no force more dangerous than a mother who has had enough. And yet, some still resisted. One fleet. A war band of old generals. Hardliners who refused to believe the rumors. They launched from deep space, targeting Karen's last known coordinates. 12 dreadnoughts. Elite boarding squads. Ships named things like Judgment Claw and Honorable Execution. They broadcast a message. We do not answer to humans. We are not afraid of your snacks, your sarcasm, or your suburban psychological warfare. Karen played it back while painting her nails. Adorable, she muttered. Then she turned to Carter. Ready. He nodded. I finished the virus. Emily grinned. I added unicorn stickers. Karen uploaded it into a decoy drone. The warband intercepted it. And then every dreadnought played Baby Shark on max volume while all internal lights blinked in rainbow seizure patterns. Entire fleets shut down from disorientation and despair. One general tried to bite through a power cable. Another surrendered to a passing meteor. Karen sent one last message. Please do not reply. I have blocked you. Back on Earth, the sky was calm. Karen's house was quiet. The ship now parked like a trailer in her backyard, disguised under a camo tarp and a no solicitors sign. The children returned to school. The PTA welcomed her back. She brought muffins. Someone made the mistake of calling them store-bought. The woman disappeared from town a week later. No charges. Just gone. Moved away. Took up ice sculpting, allegedly. No one asked Karen about it. No one ever would. The empire fell silent. Not from war. Not from collapse. But from something far worse. Anticipation. Every governor, every warden, every general and diplomat paused, afraid to act, afraid to speak, afraid to blink at the wrong moment in case she was watching. Because they didn't know where she was now. That was the problem. Karen had gone dark. No hack comms. No sarcastic interstellar memos. No viral muffin recipes coated with malware. Nothing. The last transmission from her vessel had been 2 days prior. A simple image of a well-organized pantry and a voice note that said, "I'll be home late. Don't wait up." Since then, 4 prison stations had mysteriously powered down, 3 senior officials had resigned for family reasons, and a rogue artificial intelligence hired to track her whereabouts had gone offline, after developing crippling anxiety. Zern stood alone at the edge of the Senate war room, watching stars flicker across a holographic map. "She's not trying to destroy us," he muttered. The aides froze. "She's trying to teach us something." Across the room, someone whispered, "What kind of monster teaches through fear?" Zern shook his head. A mother. Karen had parked her ship behind the second moon of Delvic 3, a barren, ice-slick world that no one paid attention to unless they needed to hide. Which made it perfect. Inside the ship, she sat cross-legged with her children and 50 others from 8 different species, all rescued from across the galactic reach. Some were still scared. Others stared at her like she was something between a superhero and a walking bedtime story. Carter passed out juice boxes. Emily distributed a printed schedule for snack time and interspecies recess. Karen held up a plush alien toy one of the rescued kids had clutched like a lifeline. "Everyone listen," she said softly. "You are not broken. You are not property. You are not alone." They nodded slowly. Then a chime echoed from the ship's console. It was time. Karen stood, turned to her children, and said, "Stay here. I'm going to file one last message." Across the galaxy, every screen blinked once. Then again. And then a soft, unnervingly cheerful chime rang out through every government comm system, military broadcast, school hall, and prison intercom. A smiling human woman appeared on screen, dressed in a soft blue sweater, standing in what appeared to be a kitchen. She was stirring something. "Hi," she said, as if addressing a book club. Her eyes glowed with purpose. "Some of you already know me. Some of you fear me. Some of you made the unfortunate decision to ignore me." She paused, tapped the spoon twice. "My name is Karen, and today I'm not filing a complaint. I'm issuing a warning." Around the galaxy, leaders leaned in. "Let me explain something very simple," she continued. "There is a sacred pact among sentient beings, across all cultures, all languages, all worlds." She looked directly into the lens. "You do not harm a child." Somewhere a monitor exploded from sudden power overload. "In your arrogance, you forgot that. You took mine. You took others. You justified it with data, politics, and theories about civilization tiers." She smiled gently. "I don't need theories. I just need names, which I have now." Karen stepped aside. Behind her, a holographic list appeared. Names, facilities, coordinates, thousands. And one by one, each item turned red. "This is not vengeance," she said. The screen behind her shifted, showing images of locked doors blown open, crying children escorted into light, and caretakers surrendering with their hands up. "This is correction." Then her voice dropped, low, cold, and unmistakably human. "And if anyone touches another child without consent again, I will correct you so hard your ancestors will file an appeal." The feed cut. Across the stars, no one dared breathe. Zern exhaled, as if surfacing from deep water. "She didn't ask for war," he said. "She made it obsolete." The aide beside him whispered, "What do we do?" Zern looked at him. "We follow her instructions." And they did. Within hours, empire-wide policies were revoked. The child collection program was terminated. The governors in charge were placed under tribunal. And the term Karen Protocol was officially added to the Galactic Concord's emergency response system, designated Level Omega. Karen leaned against the wall of her ship, head tilted back, arms folded. It was done. Her children, all of them, were safe. Not because she burned everything down, but because she made them listen. Carter came up beside her, holding 2 mugs. One was filled with tea, the other something fizzy and vaguely glowing. "Yours," he said, handing her the mug. "Thank you, sweetie." "Did we win?" She thought for a moment. "No," she said. "We taught. That's harder. But it lasts longer." Emily joined them, dragging a new alien friend behind her, short, fuzzy, and still wide-eyed with awe. "She wants to learn Earth games," Emily said. "I told her we'd start with Uno and emotional damage." Karen smiled. "Good," she said. "Every kid deserves chaos in moderation." Meanwhile, on Zell Prime, the Senate convened one final time. The decision was unanimous. Earth was to be recognized not merely as an independent world, but as a sovereign deterrent species. Not because of military strength, not because of political leverage, because of Karen. Because one woman, through charm, sarcasm, and terrifying competence, had exposed the Empire's worst sins and reminded them that empathy was not weakness. It was the sword of the strong. A new Galactic Advisory Bulletin was released. Mandatory viewing. It read, "Parental advisory warning. Do not engage in child collection without authorized consent. If a human mother contacts you, respond with apology, offer snacks, and back away slowly. If she uses the word disappointed, assume combat readiness immediately." Back on Earth, Karen returned to normal life. Almost. She declined media interviews. She refused medals. She turned down 3 offers to command military fleets. Instead, she rejoined the PDA. She led a bake sale. She signed up for school board meetings again. When someone asked what she did for a living, she just said, "Freelance discipline consultant." No one asked further. Until the day a representative from the Galactic Council landed in a shuttle behind her house, carrying a bouquet of peace lilies and a handwritten apology from 6 different species. He knocked, cautiously. Karen opened the door. The representative stammered, "We just wanted to formally thank you for everything. And apologize. Also, here's a gift basket." Karen took the basket, glanced inside. Cheese. Wine. Alien crackers. She nodded slowly. "Your apology is noted," she said. "And your gift is acceptable." The representative exhaled, visibly relieved. Karen leaned forward. "But if I ever hear of another child disappearing from anywhere, you won't see me coming." The alien nodded furiously, stepped back, and tripped over his own tail. Karen shut the door, smiled, and called over her shoulder, "Kids, want alien cheese with lunch?" From upstairs, "Yeah." She placed the gift basket on the counter, sat down, and pulled out a pencil. On the kitchen table was a list. Still incomplete, because there were still others. Not just from the Empire. Other black markets. Hidden rings. Pirate colonies. Broken governments. So she kept the ship prepped. She kept her boots clean. She kept her files updated. Because if the galaxy ever forgot again, she would remind them. Firmly. Clearly. With bullet points. And if necessary, with fire.